The Supreme Court of Nigeria is the final court of the land, and that they cannot make a pronouncement that would not be enforced. So in other words, the Nigerian Senate stands solidly behind the Supreme Court decision on its efforts through a judicial pronouncement to sanitize the administration of local governments in the country and stop further abuse of local government funds.
My name remains Muhammad Adamaleru, representing the people of KB Central. Mr. President, I come under constitutional point of order. Order 287. Section 287 of the Constitution. Section 287 of the Constitution. With your permission, Mr. President, I want to read.
Please proceed.
The decision of the Supreme Court shall be enforced in any part of the Federation by all authorities and persons and by courts with subordinate jurisdiction to that of the Supreme Court. Mr. President, I raise this point of order simply because the Supreme Court judgment, which distinguished Senator Tony Nwoye referred to, is a Supreme Court pronouncement. It's a decision of the court, and it must be enforced by all persons and authorities in Nigeria. So I believe discussing this issue will amount to overclouding it, or overflowing the issue. So the court has already decided that the money of the local government councils should be released directly to the councils. And for us to start debating it, it's going against the spirit of the Constitution, since there is already a constitutional provision to that effect. Okay.
This motion has come at the very right time, when the country is yearning for a change of attitude concerning the local government administration in Nigeria. We want to commend the executive for taking the initiative to go to Supreme Court to further guarantee the autonomy of local government in Nigeria. And you can see that the effect of that Supreme Court judgment is also yielding results, to the extent that every state in Nigeria is now rushing to conduct local government election to qualify them to get their normal statutory allocations going to the local government. But the law did not say that the states should tamper with the funds going to the local government. It didn't say so. And the Supreme Court didn't also say so. So I want to support this motion by urging the Senate that if there is nothing this 10th Senate will achieve, it is this local government autonomy. I recalled in Kano 2 weeks ago, when we had the retreat on constitutional review led by the Deputy Senate President. This issue of local government autonomy was one of the major issues that we discussed. Mr. President, in supporting this motion, I would like to recall that there is urgent need to amend Section 7 of 1999 Constitution as amended to further guarantee the autonomy of local government. This Constitution says that local government is the third tier of government. We have 3 tiers of government in Nigeria: the federal, the state, and local government. So local government should be allowed to exercise that responsibility of a third tier of government. And I believe that that is what this nation should be talking about. So in any attempt of any state, House of Assembly, trying to make law that will now mandate this revenue coming to local governments to be controlled by another account before the money gets to the local government, I think is undermining the Supreme Court judgment. So they should allow local governments who have already conducted the election for these monies to be paid directly into the coffers of those local governments. So I believe that, Mr. President, when we come to the prayers, because there are so many prayers, I think the prayers shouldn't be more than two. But when we come to the prayers, we'll also make an amendment to make it look more elegant. I so support, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator, further assist Distinguished Senator Alero, I will refer all of us to Section 162, subsection 6 of the Nigerian Constitution. And with your permission, I'll read. Section 162, subsection 6 says, each state shall maintain a special account to be called State Joint Local Government Account, into which shall be paid such allocations to the local government councils of that state from the federation account and from the government of the states. What that means is that we have a larger duty to do than to debate. So in my experience as a former commissioner for local government, the state government also has a part of its monthly allocation, which it contributes to the local governments. So in obeying the Supreme Court decision, we should also consider doing the needful legally to ensure that any state government that wishes to pay money to any local government has its own contribution to the running of the local government on a monthly basis, thus so directly to the local governments. But we must take cognizance of the need to tinker with Section 162, subsection 6 of the Constitution. So the point of order is sustained.
Order. Order.
Yes.
I'm coming under Order 42 of our Senate Standing Orders.
Please read.
By the indulgence of the Senate and leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there be no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor any debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it is sought. May I seek your permission, Mr. President?
Please proceed.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, before I presented the petitions before this distinguished House, I needed also to inform the House and the Senate President duly that because of the consistent refusal of some officers, MDAs, to attend meetings when they are called to attend our hearings, that I am going to be issuing a warrant of arrest to compel these erring officers to appear before the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions. So, Mr. President, I will seek your indulgence in this matter to allow the committee to do as is supposed to do in this regard. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, this is under Order 42, just to inform the hallowed chambers that he has noticed some consistency in some heads of MDS to appear before the Committee on Public Petitions whenever they are called upon. And he wanted to inform us that he will proceed to utilize the powers of his committee to issue the necessary warrants to compel them to appear what you are doing is not to ask us for permission. You are only informing us of your intention to do so. So your point of order is sustained. Yes, off your mic.
Mr. President, my dear respected and distinguished colleagues, I remain Suleiman Abdurrahman Kawu Sumaila, representing Kano South Senatorial District. Mr. President, from Kano.
This is a judgment of Supreme Court that they submitted this section SP said, and Supreme Court gave this judgment that there is not any name. Read it for them.
I will.
Read it for them.
Wait.
I stand to move that we go into closed session to discuss this issue. I so move.
Minority seconded that this hallowed chamber should go into closed session to discuss issues of national importance. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We resolve into closed session. In a closed session, deliberated on issues bordering on the workings of the Senate in particular and the National Assembly in general. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the closed session? Leader of the Senate.
Other sections to allow us revisit our decision. Especially on the motion moved by Senator Ngwe.
Distinguished colleagues, a motion has been moved and seconded that we do suspend our rules to enable us to revisit without a written paper the earlier motion brought by Senator Tony Woyer. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So we can revisit. Distinguished Leader of the Senate, you can go ahead. We will on the bill, on the motion by distinguished Senator Tony Woyer on the creation of local government accounts by some 3 state governments, and in an attempt to circumvent the Supreme Court decision that money should go directly to the accounts of local governments in the country. And so we have deliberated on it. We have come to the reasonable position that the Supreme Court of Nigeria is the final court of the land, and that they cannot make a pronouncement that would not be enforced. So in other words, the Nigerian Senate stands solidly behind the Supreme Court decision on its efforts through a judicial pronouncement to sanitize the administration of local governments in the country and stop further abuse of local government funds. So we stand solidly behind the Supreme Court of Nigeria. In addition to that, we have looked at the motion and we agree that some of the prayers in the motion are such that could conflict with the existing regulations, including the Constitution. And accordingly, I will invite the Deputy Senate President to make prayers that we jointly agree upon that should go out there so that the press will be well guided. And nobody will go and say that Senate said this or said that, because we believe strongly that if there's any legacy that this administration will leave behind, including the 10th Senate, it is a legacy of sanitizing the local governments, ensuring that local government funds are well utilized for the benefit of the rural people, and at the same time, local governments are allowed to function and function well. That will also, in due course, include their elections. Distinguished Deputy Senate President, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Baroj Ibrahim cannot. This is on the deliberation that was made by this August Senate in the just concluded executive session. I stand to move on behalf of this August Senate for the approval of two prayers in respect of the motion that was brought before this August Senate by Senator Tony Umwe, thereby discarding the earlier prayers in the motion as brought by him. The two prayers are as follows. All states and local governments to fully comply with the recent Supreme Court judgment on the disbursement and utilization of funds accruing to all local governments in Nigeria. Prayer 2. Okay.
Senator, that all states and local government should immediately comply with the recently pronounced judgment of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Any seconder?
President Bauchi Central, I rise to support the motion heavily canvassed and moved by the Deputy Senate President that the Supreme Court resolution must be obeyed by all parties in Nigeria. I so moved.
That all states and local government should immediately comply with the recently pronounced judgment of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Any seconder?
President Bauchi Central, I rise to support the motion heavily canvassed and moved by the Deputy Senate President that the Supreme Court resolution must be obeyed by all parties in Nigeria. I so moved.
Been proposed in respect of the earlier discussed motion by the Deputy Senate President, Prayer 1, saying that all states, all tiers of government in the Federation should immediately comply with the recently pronounced judgments of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, particularly relating to local government accounts, and then the funds of local government going directly to the local governments for its utilization to improve the lot of Nigerians. And this prayer has been seconded by distinguished Senator Nengi. Those in support of the prayer 1 has moved, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 1 is accepted. Yes, distinguished Deputy Senate President.
The second prayer is as follows. That the Senate ensures alterations to relevant provisions of the Constitution to provide for the full autonomy of the local governments in Nigeria. Mr. President, I so move.
Yes.
President of the Senate, distinguished senators, my name is Senator Mohammed Tahir Munguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. I most humbly support the prayer as canvassed by the Deputy Senate President.
Has been moved by the Deputy Senate President that the Senate should immediately take steps to go through the procedures of altering any section of the Constitution or any law to give birth to full autonomy of local governments in Nigeria. Those in support of the prayer as moved and seconded, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Let me use this opportunity to thank my colleagues for all the contributions and thank distinguished Senator Tony Woye, who brought up the motion bordering on attempts to circumvent the ruling of the Supreme Court. And I want to thank all of you for your contributions, and I assure you that the 10th Senate, working with our colleagues in the House of Representatives, will alter any aspect of our Constitution, amend any section of our laws to ensure full autonomy to the local government administrations in this country, so that it will be recognized fully in action and in fact as a third tier of government of the Federation. So I thank you for the motions so far moved.